Did Shrooms Make Us Human by North02. This was heavily requested for me to react to, so I am going into it blind. Let's fucking go, dude. Alright.
Imagine if the leap from ape to human didn't start with tools or fire, but with a
Oh,
trip,
okay.
and not a metaphorical one either. According to one of the strangest and most controversial ideas in anthropology, early humans evolved partly because they ate psychedelic mushrooms. It's called the stoned ape theory, and it asks a wild question.
Hang on. People think that humans evolved from monkeys by eating mushrooms, huh? I have never heard this theory before. That's interesting. Okay. Fascinating.
Psilocybin was the secret ingredient behind human consciousness. It's the kind of idea that sounds like a plot to a science fiction novel, but it's a real hypothesis, and it's captured the imagination of psychonauts, mystics, and even curious scientists ever since. But before we
I can
dismiss
see
it
that.
or believe it, let's see where the evidence actually leads.
What is the stoned eight hypothesis?
In the book Food of the Gods, Terence McKenna laid out one of the most controversial and psychedelic ideas ever proposed about human evolution. That the leap from Homo erectus to Homo sapiens was triggered not by fire, tools, or language, but by psilocybin mushrooms. He believed this shift
I don't.
happened during a critical environmental turning point. Around 2 million years ago, much of Africa was drying out. The lush tropical forests
I don't
that
know
once
about that.
supported early hominins began to shrink. Climate shifts led to increasing desertification, pushing our ancestors out of the trees and into open savannas. Fruit became harder to find, and the old forest-based diets were no longer reliable. So our ancestors, like many species under pressure, adapted. They began following herds of grazing animals across the grasslands, scavenging whatever they could. From insects to tubers to whatever they found growing in the dung left behind by large herbivores. And this is where
Okay.
McKenna's theory kicks in. He
I can
proposed
see that.
while foraging in this new environment, our ancestors came across Psilocybe cubensis, a psychoactive mushroom that naturally grows in cattle dung. Curious and hungry,
So they just thought they found like cow patties, started pulling the mushrooms out of them, and then just went ham. Or like, I'm gonna eat all this shit, and then God, those monkeys were tripping balls. That's fucking hilarious.
they ate it. And according to McKenna, that moment, repeated over generations, sparked nothing less than a cognitive
Oh man.
revolution. He claimed that at low doses, the psilocybin sharpened visual acuity, specifically edge detection, making early humans better hunters. They could spot predators, track prey, and navigate their surroundings more effectively. McKenna cited
Oh,
research
okay.
from the
Okay.
1960s by Roland Fisher and others who
True, by the way. It will in fact give you edge perception. You can see things like that. It's very fascinating.
showed that psychedelics can heighten certain types of sensory perception. At slightly higher doses, he believed that the mushroom increased sexual arousal and energy, giving individuals a reproductive edge. Those who consumed the mushroom were more alert, more active, and more likely to mate, passing on
Let it be known, if you're about to go to bed with your woman or man, mushrooms over Viagra.
their genes and giving rise to a population with both
Oh
behavioral and
boy.
neurological advantages. But the most radical part of McKenna's theory comes with the higher doses. He believed that psilocybin, in these larger amounts, helped dissolve the ego and blur the boundaries between self and other. This, he argued, would have promoted strong social bonding, communal rituals, and even group sexual practices. McKenna
Oh wow.
imagined early
Okay.
tribes gathering together in mushroom-induced ecstasy, forming deep connections that led to greater genetic mixing and a shared sense of responsibility for the group's offspring.
Thank you for
He also
blurring that,
believed
bro.
these experiences were
Appreciate
deeply
that.
spiritual. The visions, the sense of awe, the disintegration of the self, all of it, he thought, gave rise to the very first religious impulses. Our ancestors weren't just high, they were having what felt like encounters with the divine. Most importantly, McKenna argued that these altered states of consciousness stimulated activity in the brain regions tied to language, imagination, and symbolic thought. He claimed that this was the real origin of art, music, and spoken language. The mushroom wasn't just a drug, it was a
Okay.
neurological key that unlocked higher cognition.
Okay.
To McKenna, psilocybin mushrooms weren't just part of the diet. They were the driving force behind everything we now associate with being human. Culture, religion, storytelling, scientific thinking, it all began in his eyes with the discovery of a psychedelic fungus growing in animal dung on the African savanna.
That's pretty fascinating. I've never actually considered the effects that that stuff would have on the not only the human mind, but just like how much it would influence cultures like that. And it makes sense too because it does open up a lot of your creative processes. It's pretty fascinating how people have done. There's a lot of studies on psilocybin and the effects it has on people, and the amount of creativity that someone can spark up is insane. Granted, it's also true with other stimulants and things like of the same nature. So, you know, interesting case study to try out on yourself with, medical supervision provided, of course.
A theory that sounds a little absurd on the surface, but it touches on something primal, something about curiosity, transformation, and the way altered states might shape who we are. McKenna's theory was not accepted by mainstream paleoanthropology, but his writing continued to live in the public consciousness.
Interesting. So
In
much like
recent years,
artists,
the theory has gained some
oh,
popularity with
whoops, sorry.
mycologists
Much like artists, their work isn't appreciated till long after they're gone. So that's probably going to be the case for this man. He probably passed away and everything came out, and then they're actually started studying it a hell of a lot more than what they probably would have done while he was alive. It happens to a lot of folks, many such cases.
Paul Stamets.
Hmm.
Mycologists study
He
fungi,
looks
and
like
though
a mushroom
Stamets is
grower.
mostly self-taught, he's widely recognized for advancing mushroom cultivation and public awareness of mycology. At
Called
the
it.
2017 Psychedelic Science Conference, Stamets stepped up to defend and modernize Terence McKenna's stoned ape theory. In his talk, Psilocybin Mushrooms and the Mycology of Consciousness, Stamets argued that the sudden doubling of the human brain starting 2 million years ago remains a mystery, and that
Wow.
psychedelics might
Okay.
offer a plausible explanation. Echoing McKenna, he imagined that early humans wandering the savannah, stumbling across psilocybin mushrooms growing from dung, eating them, and then experiencing dramatic shifts in perception and cognition. Stamets didn't claim to prove the idea, but he urged listeners to consider it a very, very plausible hypothesis for the rapid evolution of Homo sapiens.
Hmm.
The stone ape theory is undeniably fascinating. It's bold, imaginative, and taps into some of the deepest questions about consciousness and our early evolution. But now it's time to take a closer look and see if his ideas stand up to scrutiny.
Okay.
First, a quick clarification. Despite the name, it's not actually a theory in the scientific sense. It's a hypothesis, an intriguing idea based on limited evidence, one that hasn't been rigorously tested or widely accepted by the scientific community. In everyday language, we often use theory to mean a guess. But in science, a theory is something far more substantial, a well-supported explanation backed by a strong body of evidence. If you take one
Correct.
thing away from this video, it is that the word theory and a hypothesis are not interchangeable.
No, no, they're not.
Okay, now let's dive into early evolution,
Man,
one of my favorite.
hyp- the hypothesis and the theory are not, in fact, the same. A theory is a guess that you make on ideas that you can present. A hypothesis is something you have some basis of fact in to prove your theory. Your hypothesis. I'm probably talking on my ass. I might not even know what I'm talking about. Uh, you know, Grain of salt. Not a professional in this field by any means. So full disclosure there. But yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. They're not the same.
favorite topics. McKenna posited that around 2 million years ago, much of Africa was drying out. The lush tropical forests that once supported early hominins began to shrink. Climate shifts led to increasing desertification, pushing our ancestors out of the trees and into open savannas.
Interesting.
He is partially correct in this assessment, as Africa was drying out and the savanna was expanding between 2.8 to 2.5 million years ago. However, his idea about our
Okay.
ancestors being pushed onto the savanna is largely out of date. We know that hominins had been living in open environments long before the genus Homo even appeared.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't know about that. 4 million years ago.
Australopithecines, the predecessors to our genus, appeared over 4 million years ago. They were adapted to open environments as well as sparsely wooded environments. We know for a fact that the earliest species in our genus, such as Homo erectus and Homo
Hang on, wait. I
habilis,
just want to go back for a moment. Right here, this face. Yeah, I don't know why. When I looked at it,
the
I'm just like,
Australopithecines
hang on, my model might be blocking the view here. Let me adjust this real quick. I'm just gonna scoot me over. Just it's Big Steve. That's his name now. I'm gonna call him Big Steve. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna go back to I'm gonna go back. Let's go. I'm sorry.
the predecessors to our genus, appeared over 4 million years ago. They
It's
were
an
adapted
inside
to open
joke.
environments as well as sparsely wooded environments. We know for a fact that the earliest species in our genus, such as Homo erectus and Homo habilis, were perfectly adapted to open environments as far as 2 million years ago. So the
Wow,
aridification of Africa
that's
didn't
awesome.
force early humans onto the savanna, but rather they were already adapted to it. But this might actually play in McKenna's favor, as in these open environments, dung-loving psychedelic mushrooms were common. Genetic
Hmm.
analysis suggests that Psilocybe cubensis, one of the most well-known magic mushrooms, likely existed across Africa well over 2 million years ago. However, they
Okay.
may have only been available during wetter seasons of the year. McKenna hypothesized that early hominids looking in the dung of large herbivores for grubs would have often come across these mushrooms. This is plausible as other primate species today, such as
Oh,
baboons and chimpanzees, flip over dung and dig through it to find beetle larvae and grubs.
oh, that's
Assuming that
gross,
early
dude.
humans may
Ew.
have tried these
Ew.
mushrooms from time to time, it is plausible that they recognized them as an entertaining and stimulating experience. After all, a
They
handful of
got no
animals appear
pants,
to
bro.
seek out recreational substances. For example, multiple species, including chimps, will eat fermented fruit seemingly to enjoy the alcohol. Some monkeys in the
Nice.
Caribbean have become full-on alcoholics, and dolphins have been observed inhaling pufferfish toxins and acting inebriated. It's not
Yeah, yeah,
entirely
that's
possible.
right. I learned this from believe it or not, a Swagger Souls video. Shout out to that man. He's a beautiful human being. Dolphins will go around and they'll do what's called they pass the puff, right? Kind of like if you're in a group of friends and you're just like, enjoying a cigar or something along the similar lines, and you just chill out, hang out on a balcony or whatever. You just pass off the booth essentially. Dolphins do the same thing. They literally pass around a pufferfish to get the venom that comes out of their little spines, and they all just get high off it. It's hilarious. It's really funny. It's really funny.
Possible that early hominins recognized the effects of mushrooms and enjoyed them.
Oh
Could these
no.
substances have given them an edge? At the heart of the stoned ape hypothesis is the idea that consuming psilocybin mushrooms gave early hominins a survival advantage, perhaps enhancing cognition, perception, or social bonding in
That's a
ways that
crazy
accelerated
image.
brain evolution. But from an evolutionary and scientific standpoint, this claim is highly speculative and lacks empirical support. To begin with, let's address McKenna's claims that low doses of psilocybin mushrooms can enhance visual acuity, particularly edge detection, giving early humans an advantage in hunting and survival.
Psilocybin and visual acuity.
This is one
Yeah.
of McKenna's most specific and most misunderstood claims. According to him, sharper eyesight meant better tracking of prey, quicker spotting of predators, and ultimately more food and offspring. He often cited experiments by pharmacologist Roland Fisher to support this idea, claiming that his work showed that psilocybin improved vision in measurable ways. But here's the
Mm,
problem.
kinda.
That study didn't actually test visual acuity. What Fisher's
Yeah.
team measured was depth perception and spatial distortion, not the ability to see fine details or sharpen visual edges. McKenna essentially took a study
Exactly.
about altered perception and spun it into a story about enhanced vision.
Interesting.
Furthermore,
Okay, yeah, so we got it
Fisher et al.
backwards.
Stated that psilocybin may not be conductive to the survival of an organism. To this day, no peer-reviewed research has shown that psilocybin improves human visual acuity. It alters perception, yes, it intensifies colors, distorts space, and can even make the world feel hyper-detailed, but those effects are subjective, and not the same as objectively seeing better. In
Yep.
fact, most controlled studies show that psychedelics introduce visual distortions, not clarity. Even modern microdosing trials, where people take tiny amounts of psychedelics to boost performance, have failed to show consistent benefits to perception or cognition. So did psilocybin make our ancestors see like hawks? Probably not. McKenna's claim is imaginative,
No, I
and
doubt
it
it.
stretches the data beyond what the science supports. The idea of sharper vision under mushrooms may feel true to some.
What I imagine it definitely did do to them, though, is it probably helped them like track movement. Because under the effects of psilocybin, you can often see a ring around a certain individual or something you're looking at, often people. And you know, that's just how it is. That's probably what he's getting at. It is edge perception, as what this man has been saying, North02. But at the same time, it's not exactly reliable because, as he also said, you get distorted vision as well. So the edge perception can immediately be erased if you've experiencing something a little bit different. It all just depends on the mindset of the person.
Someone in the moment. But from an evolutionary standpoint, there's just no proof that this would actually work.
Interesting. No, it does not double your brain size.
The
This is like the Ron Jeremy of mushroom jokes. All right, no, no. Taking this pill will not, in fact, make you, you know, oof, Chad Thundercock. All right, it's not gonna happen. Same thing with these mushrooms. They're not gonna make you a mathematical genius overnight or anything. it will expand your mind to think about other things, but it's not going to make you an overeducated person just by taking a substance. All right, that is a very dumb thing to think. Please don't ever do that.
Another one of McKenna's claims was that the use of these mushrooms led to a rapid increase in the size of the human brain. This is a
Hmm.
legitimately interesting question. Why did the human brain supposedly double in a period of roughly 2 million years? Well, let's break down the increase in the human brain size based on species. Our genus evolved from Australopithecines, small-bodied, upright walking hominids with a brain size of around 400 to 550 cubic centimeters. Then, with the emergence of our genus, was Homo habilis dating to 2.4 million years ago with a brain size of 500 to 775 cubic centimeters. Then,
Man.
Homo erectus appeared 2 million years ago, first with a slightly larger brain, and then by around 500,000 years ago, their descendants commonly had brains over 1,000 cubic centimeters. By the time our species appeared 300,000 years ago, hominids all over the world had brains larger than ours today, more than 1,500 cubic centimeters. This includes Neanderthals, our ancestors, and East Asian hominids like Homo longi and likely Denisovans. Point being, the
Oh
human
wow.
brain size continued to increase around the world in varied environments. It wasn't unique to our species or to the savanna. Hominins in Europe to Southeast Asia were involving increasingly larger brains, except Homo
That's interesting.
floresiensis, but they were getting really small. It
Oh
is
shit.
difficult to reconcile
Oh
this with the
shit.
stoned ape theory. The idea that mushroom use from animal dung on the savanna led to our larger brains and higher intelligence doesn't square with our evidence. What about the other populations that may have not even had access to psychedelic mushrooms? Their brains were increasing as well, and this trend clearly goes back millions of years to the origin of our genus. The
Hmm.
evolution of our brain is
Okay.
very unique, but it wasn't necessarily rapid. We were talking about 3 million years. There are plenty of other models that seek to explain why our brains got larger, and many models have hypothesized that the advent of cooking and meat consumption led to the surplus calories required to evolve a large brain. Other popular ideas surround social complexity and tool use. Ancient humans had an incredible amount of skills to master, places to remember, and relationships to keep intact. Such a demanding lifestyle may have led to the growth of the brain. In fact, both Neanderthals and early modern humans had significantly larger brains than we have today. Over the
That's
past
fascinating.
20,000 years, we have lost about
You
a
know,
tennis ball worth of brain volume.
the more I think about it, he's got a good point there. They have gained an immense amount of knowledge as they evolved. But now with the advent of like the increasing reliance on technology and things, I imagine give it another couple 100 million years if the Earth hasn't been, eviscerated by the sun blowing up, uh, our brains will probably shrink even further because our technology has gotten so much more, you know, I don't want to say better, but it's just improved the lives of everybody to the point where they don't have a need to, do this extra stuff. I mean, God forbid when sex robots come out, there's not even going to be a need for women or men. It's just it's a dystopian future we're going into. And who's to say we'll even need brains? Be like Soma if we're gonna upload into a giant digital consciousness.
Our modern
Goodness.
brains might be more efficient than the brains of the past, making a smaller brain better overall. But the point is, ancient humans had incredibly complex lives and needed bigger brains.
Hmm. The
But
biggest
perhaps the
flaw.
biggest problem with McKenna's hypothesis is also the most fundamental. Evolution only works on traits that are heritable, that is, traits passed down through genes. Eating
Oh,
a
okay.
mushroom might temporarily shift your perception, boost your mood, or even make you more socially outgoing, but it doesn't rewrite your DNA. Those effects vanish in hours. They're not passed on to your children.
Yep.
Now, to be fair, McKenna did try to address this. He speculated that psilocybin increased sexual arousal and sociability, which could theoretically lead to more mating and more offspring. In this hypothetical scenario, the individuals who consumed mushrooms would have reproduced more often, gradually tipping the genetic scales in their favor. But here's the issue: there's
That
no
still
evidence
does.
this ever happened. We have
Yeah.
no data suggesting that regular mushroom users in ancient populations had more children, or that those children inherited any cognitive benefits from their
Interesting.
parents' trips. Even if psilocybin boosted libido in the moment, those behavioral effects are temporary, not biological upgrades that natural selection can act on. This line of thinking also brushes against Lamarckian logic, the outdated idea that traits acquired during life can be passed down genetically, like suggesting if I lift weights and get strong, my kids will be born buff. It sounds
Hell
intuitive,
yeah.
but evolution just doesn't work that way. So even if mushrooms did make some people more social, more
I want to have a buff baby. I want him to come out of the womb like Hulk Hogan. Just be like, Just come out. No, no, Randy Man Savage. There you go. Comes out. Hoo yeah! You can't see it because my arms are up, but I'm doing the whole fucking, the double flex thing. Oh, I feel retarded.
Aroused and more mystical, it's all moot unless those effects somehow translated to genetic advantages. And so far, there's no evidence they did.
Scholarly opinions. All right, let's hear some
The
scholarly
hypothesis
opinions.
is cool and all, but what do actual scientists think?
Yeah.
As learned people of science, we should look at things skeptically and not take things at face value just because they tell a good story.
Hey,
Anthropologists
hey,
have looked at
yo, yo! I recognize that symbol. That is the symbol of the Something Witty guys by the SAO Bridge
the
team.
hypothesis is cool and all, but what do actual scientists think? As learned people of science, we should look at things skeptically and not take
Look at
things at
that.
face value
Right
just
there. That is the Something Witty entertainment symbol. I recognize this. Let me know if you guys want me to react to that. I admit I've already seen it. I've been watching it since I was in the middle of high school. All right. I love Sort of Online Abridged. Any abridged show is just beautiful. All right. I actually, you know what? I'm gonna react to it, even though I've already seen it. Oh, I just have to make everyone clear that I watch this because I love it, not because uh I expect to get views. I don't. I don't. I just love that show.
because they tell
Sorry.
a good
Tangent over.
story. Anthropologists, evolutionary biologists, and cognitive science have looked at the stone ape theory with deep skepticism. The
Hmm.
problem isn't that psychedelics have no effects, they clearly do. The problem is connecting those effects to large scale evolutionary changes in brain structure and behavior over millions of years. There is currently no fossil,
That makes
genetic,
sense.
or archaeological evidence supporting the idea that psilocybin had a direct impact on human evolution. No evidence of widespread psychedelic use that predates symbolic culture, and no way to test whether tripping apes gained selective advantages that would have translated into reproductive success. Cognitive
Interesting.
neuroscientist
Okay.
Dr. Andrew Gallimore has noted that while psychedelics may influence thought and perception, there's no scientific mechanism linking these experiences to the slow, generational grind of evolution. Other experts like paleoanthropologist John Hawkes have called the theory speculative at best. While open to interdisciplinary exploration, Hawkes and others emphasize that our understanding of human evolution needs to be built on observable evidence fossils, behavior, genetics, not on some what if scenario. And there's another issue dose
Yeah,
and
that's a good
frequency.
point.
For a substance to influence evolution, it would need to be consumed regularly by a large portion of population over generations, and lead
And you got to imagine too, they probably didn't, in this case, the early humans probably didn't even document the usage of this to the extent that it would be necessary to call it as a study. Like in today's world, we have every, conceivable way to track how people do certain things. You got like satellite imagery, you have ways of tracking online, that kind of stuff. In this case, they probably didn't even have parchment, let alone a way to write down anything on it besides like a cave wall. So you'd have to go back and hopefully those drawings are still on the walls if they were even there in the first place. And even then, it's not a solid case study. It's just a one example of potential thousands. So that's interesting. I didn't even give that a consideration. Not bad.
to actual survival and reproductive advantages. That's a big ask for a mushroom that grows seasonally in specific conditions.
Hmm.
Anthropologist Elisa Guerra Dose considers the idea too simplistic, potentially a reduction of a complex evolutionary process into a single aha or oh wow moment. She's also troubled by there being little evidence of such a pivotal moment, or
Yes,
of drug
exactly.
use at all so early in the archaeological record. My initial thoughts about the stoned ape hypothesis was, well, that's a
That's a
cool
cool
idea,
image.
but how would we ever even prove it? Hypothetically, we could find dental calculus from this early on showing mushroom consumption or mushroom residue on tools. Even if this evidence did exist, it would still be quite a stretch to correlate it to the gradual growth of our brains on multiple continents over 2 million years. Discussion
Wow.
of the stoned ape
Okay.
hypothesis is certainly interesting and makes some good podcast clips, but scientifically it just doesn't stack up. What I find far more interesting is the influence psychedelic substances had on more recent Stone Age cultures.
Wow. Okay.
We know for a fact that cultures around the world use various psychoactive substances for thousands of years.
Oh
But
yeah.
just how far does this go
Absolutely.
back?
I mean, hell, I can give you one example. I mean, the Native Americans where I used to live were always, not always, but they would often take peyote up in the mountains, which is a Native American psychedelic, a very, very powerful one. Never tried it myself, didn't want to involve myself with it at the time. But I've heard that people have had crazy experiences on that. It's a very common thing out there.
Around 40,000 years ago, human cultures in Africa, Europe, and Asia began to make complex art. Much of these
Mm.
paintings consisted of dreamlike depictions of animals and symbols. Though we don't have any tangible evidence that these paintings may have been influenced by psychedelics, the possibility is there. Cave paintings made 7,000 years ago in Algeria have a much clearer connection to these substances. The
Really?
so-called mushroom shaman depicts a human figure with mushroom-like shapes surrounding their head and limbs. Some
Oh,
interpret it as a spiritual figure
that's
engaged
insane.
in a
No,
hallucinogenic ritual. Other paintings
that's a clicker from Last of Us, dude. That is literally a mushroom cordyceps man. Oh goodness.
depict people hunting, dancing, and doing something else.
Oh my goodness.
Mushrooms may have very well had a
Dude.
direct influence on the culture of this region, but shamanism was a much wider phenomenon than just
Oh,
North
the original hentai. Goodness.
Africa. In fact, it was once the dominant religious practice throughout most of the world. This is very important for our understanding because the connection between shamanism and psychedelics is strong across many ancient traditions.
Okay.
Shamans often act as intermediaries between the physical and spiritual world, using trance like states to access knowledge, perform healing, or guide communities. Psychedelics weren't just
Mm.
recreational, they were sacred tools. In many cases, these substances were used in rites of passage, seasonal ceremonies, or healing rituals that reinforced group bonds and transmitted cultural knowledge.
Yep,
There is
very
no
true.
doubt that psychedelics can be used to benefit cultures and societies, though I don't want to romanticize them. Psychedelic substances can vary widely in their effects and can be dangerous. Substances like datura used by the Aztecs are known to be extremely unpredictable.
That shit's
The
also
substance
toxic from what
itself
I
is highly
remember.
poisonous, and there are
Yep,
truly
there you go.
terrifying horror stories about bad trips.
Yikes.
Overall, psychedelics might have not had a large effect on our early evolution, but they could have helped shape human culture, or contributed to visionary experiences that informed early spiritual systems. Amanda Fielding of the psychedelic think tank Beckley Foundation says that the stoned ape theory is at very least a valid reminder that humans have always been drawn to mind-altering substances. The imagery that comes with the psychedelic experience is a theme that runs through ancient art, so I'm sure that the psychedelic experience and other techniques like dancing and music were used by our early ancestors to enhance consciousness, which then facilitated spirituality, art, and medicine.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, did
Absolutely.
psychedelics make us
That
human?
makes complete sense.
Probably not. There's no evidence for that. But did they shape the way that early humans thought, felt, and connected with one another? Very possibly. What McKenna
I
got
mean, it's all
right is that
communal.
consciousness is
Yeah.
strange, and evolution isn't just about brute survival. It's also about creativity, community, and meaning. And in that sense, psychedelics may have played a subtle but significant role in how human culture unfolded. They could have helped inspire early mythology, facilitated emotional healing, or offered insights into the self and the cosmos. Psychedelics, in that context, may have acted as mirrors or magnifiers of the human spirit. Still, it's important to separate poetry
Interesting.
from science. The stoned ape theory is a story, and a good one at that. But not every good story is true. The real story of human evolution is complex, multi-layered, and filled with mystery. It involves genetics.
And it's important to realize that most people don't even believe in evolution. Well, not most people, but there's a good subsect of people, especially with religious values, that will adamantly refuse it to its very core. And that's completely fine and understandable. You know, Christians believe we came from dust. Uh, I don't know much about other religions and what they believe. I was raised Catholic myself. Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things that it's a cultural impact, not so much a guarantee on anything.
Environment, diet, social behavior, tool use, and language. And yes, sometimes a little bit of shamanism. But if we're going to tell this story right, we need to anchor it in what we can test, trace, and understand. If you have watched my prior videos debunking wild evolution theories, you might see a common theme. Sensational ideas that tell a good story prosper in the public's imagination, though the more sensational idea, the more critical we should be of it. Terence McKenna seemed like a pretty cool dude, and I think his hypothesis has done a great job inspiring discourse about our evolution. It is always
Interesting.
good to have a fresh take from a creative mind, so for that I applaud him. Though psychedelic mushrooms may have not been a driving force in our evolution, I bet some hominins were having a crazy time back in the day. Now
Oh,
that is a topic
absolutely.
for a good movie,
Absolutely.
maybe a
Absolutely.
comedy movie.
Can you imagine there's gonna be like some monkey chilling out in a tree just like high off his ass on every sort of substance he's found? He's probably taking an overdose of all sorts of mushrooms. The dude's seeing God. Okay, he's seeing the face of God right now.
I'm not sure. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, you are officially a part of the tribe. So subscribe, comment what you want to see next, and
Ooh,
hit that like button as
tribal.
hard as a shroomed up Homo erectus throwing a hand axe at a hippopotamus. And if you want more, YouTube thinks you'll watch this video.
No, not bad, man. Not bad. Yeah, North02. Did shrooms make us human? That was a damn good video. I like that a lot. You know what? I'm gonna drop a subscribe just for that. You know what? I want to see more of your content. So, thank you. And with that, I will catch you all in the next one. Thank you very much to Akimbo for recommending this to me. This was fascinating to talk about and do a little insight on. And with that, everybody, I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll see you in the next one.